Hello, everybody. Stephen Palmieri coming to you here live, connecting with you all. For those of you who know me, thank you for following me. For those of you guys who do not know me, my name is Stephen Palmieri, and my team and I help folks just like you to improve your finances by raising your credit score, lowering your taxes, and fixing your accounting processes. And today, we have a perfect example in the news that demonstrates one thing that I keep on repeating as a talking point, which is the tax code is a mess because it is used by politicians as a tool to get reelected. Excuse me. And also, it's used by a tool to create policy. And so, in the news today, Donald J. Trump has truthed that if he is reelected, like tip income, so such as like waiters, waitresses, busboys, anybody in the restaurant industry who earns tip income, he will basically work with Congress is what he needs to do to make it happen. But he's going to make it tax-free income. Now, I don't have an opinion one way or another on the substance of that, but what I wanted to do was go live because this is in the news today. And it's a perfect example of what we talk about, right? And this is not new. It's not unique to Trump. It's not unique to anybody. It's been happening for 100 years. Our tax code is over 100 years old. The IRS was created in 1913 and along with the Federal Reserve, interestingly enough, right? The Federal Reserve is the money printing branch of the government, and the IRS is the debt collection branch of the government. Isn't that nice? So for over 100 years, we have had our current tax code essentially where politicians, congressmen, in this case, presidents, they promise things and they pass tax code law to get reelected or also to affect policy. We've talked in prior lives about like the whole green energy thing. Why is it that you can go and get certain green energy appliances or vehicles and get a tax credit? Well, because it makes no sense except that Congress wants to try to change your behavior. They want to try to affect policy through the tax code. So in this case, let's say that tip income, which, a lot of times, let's just, I don't have any scientific proof, but people who earn tips, a lot of that is cash money. And so a lot of that is prone to not necessarily being reported as it is. But you're going to have workers, service industry personnel who earn tips. And if this is passed into the tax code, it would now become tax-free income. My whole point here is not to talk about the pros or cons of this. I have no opinion on it. My opinion has already been stated in the beginning of this, which is the tax code. You need to understand it makes no sense except it's entirely sense if you consider how it's created. It's created by politicians all across the board. Your senators, your representatives, your presidents, right? And look, at the end of the day, our government doesn't really need any one of our tax dollars anyway. The whole thing is kind of a big giant shell game because with the Federal Reserve, they just print money. So, which makes the whole argument outside the scope of this live even more comical, right? But so the point is now it's like, okay, so why is it that restaurant workers, people who earn tips, should now have tax-free income, but the fry cook at McDonald's doesn't? I don't know. It's a rhetorical statement to ponder on, right? Well, I guess because in this election cycle, at this particular moment in time, the fry cook at McDonald's, didn't seem like as good of a hot button as the wage earner, right? Who makes tips. We've also talked about student loans on the other end of the aisle, Joe Biden wanting to try to use executive order to cancel student loans. Now, there's a very simple way to make this happen, but the politicians don't really want to solve the problem. If they really wanted to solve the student loan problem, what would they do? They would just adjust the bankruptcy code to where student loan debt is no longer excluded from being bankruptable. Okay, that's the real issue, is that the bankruptcy code, essentially student loans have a carve out in the bankruptcy code to where you, person watching me, trying to figure it all out, with me trying to figure it all out. Your student loans cannot be bankrupted except for basically rare exception. But I mean, essentially, student loans are treated specifically in the bankruptcy code and they cannot be discharged. If Congress and the president, current president, Biden, really cared about you and the student loan issue that Congress created over 60 years from having all these student loan laws in this bubble, they would simply get the bankruptcy code adjusted. They would pass legislation that strikes through the part of the bankruptcy code that says, hey, you, the poor you, where the university sucked up all of your money and they're wealthy. And that interest is going to the government and they're wealthy, but poor you could bankrupt out of that. That's all that they would need to do. And the problem is actually solved. But no, we're not going to do that. We're going to make it a political issue and drag it out like everything else. So, point here, not to digress, the topic of this is using the tax code as a way to get reelected or to adjust policy. But as an analogy, Joe Biden talking about student loans, it's not the tax code, but it's all the same kind of a thing. But the difference, though, is that the tax code is supposed to be inherently, by the nature of common sense, some sort of a fair, equitable code of laws that the average human being can understand. And it is entirely not, right? Whereas a student loan, I mean, okay, you signed on a dotted line and you got yourself a student loan and now you realize that the education sucks and there's no jobs and everybody sucks. That is definitely shameful and too bad. I feel your pain completely. I would sign my name on a petition to have the bankruptcy code amended so you can all bankrupt out of the trillions of dollars of student loans. But the difference is, right, you got the student loan and we just have to deal with it, right? Whereas taxes, I mean, the average worker out there earning W-2 wages, you get taxed at the yin yang. And simply because you are the schmuck that is the worker, that is not the big corporate that has the lobbyists to get carve outs. And so that's the reality of where we are. Now, all that being said, why are we talking about this? Well, we're talking about this because the taxes affect everything. And the tax code is way complex and it is not designed for you, the average person. It is designed. Why is life insurance tax-free? I ask you. Well, because they had and have, in order to maintain it, super fat, deep-pocketed lobbyists who have had the tax code make life insurance tax-free. Now, I love it. I think it's amazing. I think it's beautiful. I love it. We all pay too much in taxes, but that's the difference between you and them, between me and you, we and them. We don't have lobbyists. They've got lobbyists. So, if they're in some sort of an industry, the green industry, right, they're going to lobby to get all these tax credits. Okay, but life insurance is a perfect example. Why is it tax-free? Makes no sense, except that it makes perfect sense that they have really deep-pocketed lobbyists. And you can bet that tax code is not going to get changed, right? Same thing with these trusts, the trusts where the wealthy people put all their assets. Okay, that is in the tax code, all the tax benefits of the trust, the Rockefeller type trusts, okay, the ones that you just cannot bust, okay? I mean, Congress could change the tax code to make all those things taxable and to lose the tax benefits. They could, but they're not going to because the wealth, the power of the people and the corporations and the wealthy families that rely on those laws, well, they're not going to allow our elected officials to change the law. So that is why you need somebody like me and my team and I, to be more grammatically correct. That's why you need my team and I in your back pocket. You may not need me today, you may not need me tomorrow, but remember me, because at some point in time, if you find yourself in a situation where you need help with your taxes, figuring things out, that's what my team and I do. That's what we're here for all day, every day. So you don't have to figure this out. Hopefully this video makes sense to you all. I saw the headline pop in today and I said, I need to go live with my guys out here because this is a perfect example. Got nothing to do with Trump. Just a perfect example in real time of how the tax code has been made over the last 100 years with all of these layers upon layers upon layers of stuff that makes entirely zero sense, except it makes perfect sense within the context of this explanation. So that being said, I appreciate you guys for watching me, for following me. If you have comments, comment below. We'll get you guys answered. If you want to reach out to me, if I can help you with anything, feel free to comment below. DM me on the platform you're watching this on. Email me, Stephen@StephenPalmieri.com. And remember one thing, my friends, fix your finances and improve your life. You all be good. I will see you on the next episode.